net new plus one agent, so to speak, right? My background's in tech, but I understand business. I got an MBA in business analytics. I spent the last 3 years doing a lot of commercial stuff with my uncle, which was really great. And then now I left my quote unquote day job in IT to do residential, and then a position to go into commercial fell into my lap. And the only thing that kept me from it was I didn't know how to get into it, and I had an opportunity. So here I am, and I'm going full send with it. My knowledge is pretty basic of this situation, like the understanding of the mechanics of, being an agent, getting things. It's effectively build a list in CoStar, do a screen, what's your target search, filter your data, pull the data, put it into a dialer, hit send and call. I get that. I was averaging about $100 an hour on the residential side, and based on my numbers now, I think I need to be hitting like at least 10 an hour will do me good, but that's really targeted. So my challenge now I'm finding is, I don't know the scope of research I need to be doing before each call. I don't know the intent, if you will, behind the calls. The brokerage that I'm at, I'm getting leads to chase down and help. I'll get a slice if I can put together a deal and things like that. But how do I get my own clients, right? How do I become self-sustaining? I need to be taught to fish, not handed fish. That's kind of where I'm at.
Let's just talk about lead gen, since that's where you left off here, right? So if we're talking lead gen, which I heard you say, pull a list, hit a list, right? I mean, it is pretty much that simple. Let's make it as detailed as possible, though. So I want to make sure there is 100% clarity about that process. Number one, the script book. Did you download the script book yet?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And what asset class do you plan on calling?
Retail specifically. Yeah.
So, got the script. You're doing retail, no problem. Now for the data specifically. You have access to CoStar and Reonomy. Just CoStar, just Reonomy.
Just CoStar, but I will probably get Reonomy, not at present, but I will in the future.
So, CoStar is fine. Now, I definitely would recommend talking to your company and seeing if they have access to Reonomy in some way, shape, and form. If they don't, I can also get you a discount if you need to get it on your own. So we can look at both options. But if you're doing CoStar, doing targeted lists, prospecting through CoStar is definitely a good place to start. I'm curious, you said 10 dials an hour?
Yeah, I mean, well, that was hand dialing, and if I'm going through, because sometimes I don't get good data, so I got to research and make sure that I'm confirming, and that would be 10 contacts. I may go through 3 or 4 numbers per, but I now that I got Mojo, I want to make sure that I'm back into residential, get on Vulcan, put the headset on and dial until you're blue in the face. Yep. That's where I need to be back. Yep. And I've got the tools in place. My biggest hang up is scripts and intent on the call. Do you know what I mean?
So let's dive into that then. To give you as much clarity as possible. What brokerage are you at, by the way?
Pass Off Real Estate Group. Okay. There's a main office in Cleveland, but there's a small office here in Columbus.
I'm guessing, just based off of my experience with a lot of these different brokerages, my guess is that your office is mainly focused on getting listings. Is that accurate? You're going to call them up and try to get listings?
For the most part, but they understand it's deal flow. Sure. That's kind of what I went with. That's why I wanted it.
Flexibility is what I'm asking. When you're prospecting, the name of the game is essentially our goal as brokers, right? To find great off-market direct-to-seller deals. That's it. If you just boil down the simplicity of this game on the lead generation side, on the upfront, it is to generate great off-market direct-to-seller opportunities where an investor that you can take that deal to is very excited to put his money to work in that deal, right? If you make it as simplistic as possible, that's what we do, right? So in order to do that, obviously prospecting is one option, right? And while you're prospecting, hitting the phones, exporting a list, hitting that list, the initial conversation in my script, which you'll see, basically is, hey, John, my name is Henry. I'm a local investor here in the area. The reason for the phone call today is that I'm going through a 1031 exchange, and I was just calling to see if you'd be open to selling your property, right? Or if you'd be totally against selling your property. That's the precipice. That is the simplicity of what my script says. Hi, my name is X. I'm with XYZ company. The reason for my call is, and that's really it. So, and obviously you can call as a broker as well, right? Hey, my name is PJ. I'm a local broker in the market. My name is Henry. I'm a local broker in the market. I'm calling you to see if you'd be totally against selling your property at 123 Main Street. When you get that phone call, obviously, that can go in 17,000 different directions, but it starts with a yay or nay. They're going to say yes or no. I'm either open or I'm not open. When they say that they are open, obviously you're going to go down the script and it has a bunch of different questions for you. You're going to try to gather as much information as possible. How much do they generate? All the financials, maybe you get it verbally. Obviously it would be better if you can get documentation of it. Maybe they have a price available. The point is you're going to go down that rabbit hole of them being available, being open to selling the property, right? Getting a lot more clarification. information. We are in the information gathering phase then. So you're in the information gathering phase, right? What that's going to mean is that the entirety of that purpose of that phone call, if they say they're open to selling, is gathering as much information as possible so that you can do what?
So you can put it together and effectively shop it around to your house.
Exactly right? So you're going to gather that information so you can go shop it to investors and that you can underwrite it yourself and see how good of a deal it is. That's the point. And you try to do that, you can call it as fast as possible, right? Which is mean you want to be in the information gathering time. And the reason why I say as fast as possible is because time kills all deals. Sellers get a lot less interested in selling, buyers get a lot less interested in buying. The whole, it's just not good, right? So I try to gather as much information as possible on my first and or second phone call within the first 24 to 48 hours. Now step 2, like you had mentioned, you shop it around. I'm just going to go down this path of them interested in selling for a second. They're interested in selling, you get information. Step 2 is pitching the deal, essentially, right? And getting, and farther than just pitching it out is getting an offer. That's the next intention, right? You want to get an offer on the property. What I do personally, which is slightly different than the majority, is that I make an offer on the building personally. Now, I do this for a few reasons. Once you've underwritten several hundred deals, right, in your own career, or like me, several thousand, you understand where you're probably going to end up on the property, right? You're probably going to know within a fairly reasonable doubt it's probably going to be worth to an investor here, right? Like you're going to kind of get a range of a price. What I have found, in which you will find, is that when you get information and you go to pitch it out to people, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. They're going to go back and forth. They're going to take time to underwrite. They're going to need to go see the property sometimes. They're going to take all this time, energy, and effort, possibly weeks and or months of time to underwrite the deal, to get an evaluation, to make an offer. And what I have found is that I know, based on my experience, doing this nearly a decade, I know within a fairly reasonable doubt of where they're going to be anyways. So I just make an offer at slightly below where I believe everyone's going to come in at, because I don't need them to take 3 weeks to give me an answer. So, and
then are you like flipping that deal to them when they come back within a range?
Sometimes. Yeah. I'll give you an example. You get a property, and let's just say it's a retail center, 20,000 square feet. Let's just say the market value in that area is $100 a square foot. That's like market value, right? Like where a lot of properties are trading within 10 or 20 bucks of $100 a square foot. Like that's the range. Now, what I'll do is that I'll go in and I'll offer $70 a foot, because I already know I'm probably no question probably going to get at least $80 a foot on this deal, right? Like they're going to come in with, and let's just say it's $70 a foot. It's a 9.5 cap. It's like a stellar deal. I get all the information. That's what they're saying. They gave me all the information. Based on the information they gave me, I'm going to offer like $70 a foot, 9.5 cap all day long. No question. I could sell it for more money. Now, I want to be very clear, PJ. I do this for a few reasons. Number one, I want to show them that I have buyers that are interested in the deal. I can show them that I have leverage and I'm a serious person. We have interest in your deal. Obviously, you could do this as a broker as well and just have a good relationship with an investor and just say hey, I want to get a quick, I call these starter offers, where I'm here to just gauge motivation more than anything. I want to see how motivated this guy is to sell it. Because if he's willing to take 70 or foot, or is even in the ballpark, I know we can sell this deal all day long. I'm going to spend my time, energy, and effort trying to work this deal. But PJ, let's just say I offer the $70 a foot. He says, "Are you out of your freaking mind?" Absolutely not. This is ridiculous. I would never sell this thing for anything less than $150 a square foot. How motivated is this guy?
Not motivated.
Not motivated at all. How much time do you think I would spend on that deal?
I mean,
I wouldn't even try to take the listing at $150.
Right.
Which is one of the biggest mistakes real estate agents make. They get all starry-eyed because they got a lead who might be open to selling if you got me $150 a square foot in this example. So what I try to work through is educating people to have discernment when you're looking at deals. Is this going to be something that I'm going to make money on? Or is this probably not going to be something I'm going to make money on? Having that type of discernment as fast as possible so that you do not waste your time, energy, and effort with people who will not make you money.
That's understandable. So I mean that's effectively what I was doing on the residential side. Like when I'm calling, I'd pop up and I'd pull up the RPR, I'd pull up the MLS, and I'd see what it was listed at, what it could be estimated at. And if it's too far apart, I'd just skip the contact. Fucking wouldn't even call them.
Exactly. I don't blame you. So I do the same thing.
Yeah, right. But I understand your sentiment there. So that's good. So like what about on like trying to lease space?
Perfect.
Just do retail leasing.
You call them up. By the way, opening line is the same exact thing, by the way. I would still start the conversation about selling, right? I probably would still do that and see if they're open to selling. And then what happens is that probably 80 to 90% of them, right, might say, "I'm not interested in selling." You could say okay, I can completely appreciate that. And I'm sure you get phone calls like this all the time. I actually, I work with one of the top leasing firms in the local market here. And we have a number of tenants who are constantly looking for space in the area. I'm just curious, do you happen to have any vacancy? And you could just immediately shift it into a vacancy conversation. So I like to call it a pivot strategy, which is, and my team has several different pivots that we work through. Open to selling, yay, nay. Shift it to, do you have any other properties you might consider selling? Yay or nay. Shift it to leasing. Do you have any vacancy in your building? Yay or nay. Shift it again if they still don't have any of that.
Do you want to buy?
Yeah. Do you want to be exactly? Are you open to buying another property similar to the one you have here at 123 Main Street? Yay or nay. And then again, even if they say no to that, we still shift it to, do you have any debt that's coming due? Do you need to refinance? Yay or nay. We shift it again. Like, hey, do you just out of curiosity? I know you don't want to buy any property, but if you have cash sitting and you're looking for a possible other investment, do you have, are you possibly open to being a limited partner in a deal? I will ask 1,000 different ways, or technically 7 different ways of trying to get them to give me a yes. And I can be compensated on the whole thing. I don't have a one-track mind. I'm like, hey, how can I provide a service and value to this individual, which makes it a win-win? That's why that pivot that's what it's all about. It's just like constantly going through that pinwheel of like, how can I find a way to bring value to this person? Because clearly it's not this, or this.
Okay, so if I'm just out and out cold calling, because I guess the way we discussed about it, my office and I, it was more of like cold calling is straight. Here's a number, here's a name, you're calling them for no reason. A warm calling is like, well, like, you're just calling them. So the warm calling would be more of like a tenant in tow call, like a fake tenant in tow, so to speak. It's like pick one of the people that we represent and start calling on places and asking them the same question, and then pivoting in that same regard, like, do you have any space available for lease? Are you interested in selling? So that tenant in tow kind of call, is that a worthwhile type of?
100%.
Okay. And should I start with the leasing or go to the sales, or?
I think that you'll find your groove. I don't think there's a wrong way to do this. I think that you start with leasing or you start with sales, as long as you understand and are prepared to pivot as fast as needed. Because you're going to get people who say no, right? Like,
right.
There's people who are going to say no, right? So it's just, as long as you're prepared, we've tested and trialed it 100 times. It does not matter where you start on that pinwheel. The point is that you need to be, I like to start with sale because that's our intention, right? Like that.
Right.
Your intention is to lease it, I would just start with leasing, and that's totally fine. But just be aware that, I probably would start at would you be open to refinancing your property, because I'm not a mortgage guy, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
That's not my intention. So whatever feels comfortable to you, I think, is where you start.
So just stick with lease, sale, or buy, or second property, or something like that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
As you get comfortable and more comfortable, and you're going to be able to have a larger pinwheel.
Okay, so then I guess in the So, and the other thing is, my license hasn't transferred all the way yet, so I can't get set up in CREsync and CoStar. But even still, I can get lists created and pulled. So in the meantime, okay,
I wouldn't even care. I would rip anyways.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. It's just the CoStar access. I wish I didn't have to share. Okay, so to confirm that those meetings are 10 to 12 every Wednesday?
Yeah, 10 to 12 every Wednesday. And then we have an underwriting session every Thursday at 12 noon. So tomorrow, 12 o'clock Eastern. The only other thing I want to mention, which I mentioned today on the training, I feel like one of the biggest misnomers or biggest challenges I see people experiencing is someone similar to yourself who is ready to pound the phone, right? Or is pounding the phones, right? Doing everything right when it comes to lead generation. They forget the second part of the business, which is offer generation, right? Because of course, yes, follow-up is a part of the lead gen, right? Like trying to get as much information as you can, following up there. But there's the offer generation piece, right? Which is where money actually will flow from their pocket to your pocket, right? Like, you making any money in this industry will take offers. Of course you have to generate leads, but then the only way you're actually going to ever transact and do a deal is that you must present offers on these transactions, right? So spending, I'd say probably in this point in time in your career, 80+%, maybe 90% of your days for the next probably 30, 60, 90 days. And maybe for the first 30 days, it's 90%, then 80%, and then maybe 75% in that order, down from at the first 90 days, is you just prospecting your tail off, right? If you're taking an 8-hour day, for right now, it should be 7 hours of your day should be prospecting, then 6 hours next month, and then 5 hours the following month. And then the remaining period of time is generating offers on those leads, right?
Gotcha. Shopping it around.
Right, and calling up all the people who bought properties in the last 12 months and saying, hey, I saw you bought this property, 123 Main Street. And it's just the same backwards script. Right now, I'm calling them because I know they bought something and I want them to buy something else. If I'm not interested in buying, okay, great. Would you be open to selling? Right? It's the same exact but backwards.
Gotcha. So focus on that, and then getting the offers and building an understanding of who the network is and where the depth of it is, so to speak. Understanding because we have a list of active tenants, active buyers, active users. Right. So I guess but it's not all populated properly. So I guess I got to call those leads and like our internal house leads and see what they're actually looking for. That's like the only other way I'll get a slice of the pie in the meantime if I'm not cold calling.
Like I said at the very beginning, this game is incredibly simplistic, right? We are deal generating machines and then we are offer generating machines. That's all we need to do and all we'll do, essentially, right? My intention is just to find the most lucrative financially for both, for the client and for our team, right? That's what we look to do, where we just make it a win-win for everyone.